Hi everybody and welcome back to another video on the Toon Review YouTube channel. Thank you very much for tuning in today, and some big news coming out of Newcastle United regarding the fixtures at the end of December against Bournemouth, obviously in the Carabao Cup, and then Leicester City in the Premier League. Dan Ashworth has come out and said that Newcastle United may be without their World Cup players for those two fixtures, but more on that in a moment. If you do enjoy today's video, guys, don't forget to hit the like button. It does help us move up those search results on YouTube. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Lots of Newcastle United content on here, but lots of football content as well. So even if you're not a Newcastle United supporter, please do subscribe anyway. We're doing a lot on the World Cup as well, with some more watch-alongs to come in due course. So thank you very much for that. And now into the video. And as I said at the beginning there, Dan Ashworth has come out and admitted that Newcastle United may well be without a couple of their World Cup stars when they take on Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup, and of course Leicester City when the Premier League kicks off. The Carabao Cup game is before the Premier League kicks off, but it is only a few days after the World Cup has ended in Qatar, with the final being on the 18th of December. Now, what he said was it obviously depends how far they go in the tournament as well. So, you know, you're looking at Bruno, one of the favourites is Brazil. They may well go a long way in the tournament. Therefore, Bruno, who isn't really involved in the first 11, and as I record this just before the game against Switzerland today, he's not expected to start, even though Neymar is injured. He's probably going to go with Fred. That's what I'm reading anyway at the time of recording. So it's a little bit disappointing, but the likes of Bruno could be missing. However, you know, it depends, of course, how England go as well, because we've got three guys with the England squad, Fabian Schär also with Switzerland. So if they do make the second phase of the World Cup, and then, of course, further than that, then they could be missing. So he said it's all dependent on how far, because it's a quick turnaround, which we know that. And he says players have had time off, other players, of course, in the squad, and are ready for their mini sort of pre-season when they go to Saudi Arabia for the warm weather training, and of course playing the friendly over there. They've also got the friendly against Rayo Vallecano on the Saturday, the 17th as well, which is just the weekend before the Carabao Cup. So that's it'd be interesting to see who is fit for that game. St Maximin, you know, you've got Isak to come in as well. So we do have players to come in if the World Cup players are missing. But it's just a bit of a frustration, because obviously we know that the Premier League is where we are at the moment is so important. It's really important, and you know, we want the best players available going forward in the Premier League. I know it's only one game, but still, one game is enough to hurt you sometimes. And you know, we don't want to rock the confidence. We don't want anything to go wrong. We want to maintain the stability in the side. And I'm sure the World Cup players, you know, whoever it is, will also want to play when they do come back to Newcastle United. They won't want to sit and miss out on anything. But we have to manage it carefully, because obviously, you know, it's a very, very strange scenario, not just for us, but for Newcastle, not for Newcastle United as well, but for all the Premier League teams. They're all in the same situation. So we'll have to manage that as best we can, I think, as a club, and make sure the fitness is okay, because that's the main thing. Fitness is the main thing here. And we don't want to push these players too hard, you know, so they burn out by the time the end of the season's come by. But they'll be itching to get started again in the Premier League, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, moving on from there, the Northern Echo have reported that Newcastle United will make a move for 18-year-old Brazilian sensation Andres Santos in January. He is apparently the number one target for Newcastle United moving into the transfer window. Now, James Maddison will come on to in a moment, because he is still on the radar. That hasn't gone away. But the feeling is that obviously Newcastle United want to bring in youth as well. They are very focused on bringing young players to the club, of course. Garang Kuol, the latest one. Can't wait to see him get started. He's already made an appearance in the World Cup as well. So that's really fantastic, isn't it? I mean, you know, we've got all these representatives of Newcastle United out there in the World Cup. And Kuol, being so young, but has a very mature head on his shoulders from what I've seen. You know, when he plays games, scores goals, etc., it's fantastic to watch. So we've got him coming in. Now, they reckon that Santos, he wouldn't go out on loan. He wouldn't have to go out on loan, but he'd take a bit of time to settle in to Newcastle United, so he wouldn't be involved in the first team immediately. But, you know, this guy is very, very talented. Barcelona is showing an interest in him as well. Now, Barcelona they may well struggle with the price tag because of their financial situation. It makes me laugh given how they've struggled for quite some time now with financial issues, yet they're still linked to all these top players across the world. It's crazy, isn't it? It really is crazy. But there you go. Barcelona definitely interested. Now, James Maddison is still very high priority for Newcastle United. That hasn't gone away. He is expected to be their number one priority when it comes to the first team, bringing players in. Santos is a priority because they want to bring in all these youngsters and get the academy going and have a basic approach of these youngsters are for the future of Newcastle United, not to sell on. You know, the thing is about players in the past, we've known that they've been coming in for cheap fees and then off the go for double or triple the price in a few years' time. We're not like that anymore. There's nothing going on like that. We want a conveyor belt of players coming from the academy into the first team. And these youngsters that are coming from all over the world are highly, highly talented. So James Maddison is still there, still high priority, and will still be number one target for the first team. And finally, the Daily Mail are reporting that Newcastle United are ready to launch a £58 million bid for Christian Pulisic of Chelsea. Now, obviously, Pulisic is away with the US men's team in the World Cup at the moment and doing okay from the games I've seen him play. But he's rated at £58 million. That's a lot of money for Pulisic. But we know what he can do. He's a highly, highly talented player. And highly, highly talented players do not come cheap these days, as we well know. But Pulisic would be a fantastic signing for me. Very, very exciting player. And would fit in with the mould of Eddie Howe. You know, the work rate, the pressing, everything like that is there with Pulisic. And for me, be a cracking signing. Now, what they've also said was, if we do go for Pulisic and get him, that then could signal the end for Ryan Fraser, of course. Now, Fraser... you know, for me, hasn't done it this season. He hasn't really done it at Newcastle, if we're honest, has he? I mean, he's had a lot of injuries, but not really been that figurehead that we wanted him to be. He's had a few decent games, don't get me wrong, but not the kind of... he hasn't kind of made the mark that Miggy has this season, you know, even though Miggy's been poor in the past, he's come through and he's a revitalised player. Now, Pulisic would give us certainly an extra option, and Ryan Fraser, it looks... as if he'd have to move on to a new club, which, you know, I wouldn't be against. You know, I don't think Ryan Fraser is anywhere near what we need for the future of this football club. And he could, well, there's definitely other teams around that could use his services. Now, I'm not saying Premier League teams. Certainly, teams in the Championship would certainly look at Ryan Fraser, but it all depends on wages and things like that. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But there's the news for today, guys. Sorry there hasn't been a lot of news videos recently. There's been a lot of health problems within the Toon Review camp, but we are slowly recovering and getting there. Now, join Billy, if you're watching this on Monday, join Billy tonight at 6:45 because Billy is going to be bringing you the FA Cup third round draw. Newcastle United entered into that, of course. Who will we get? And is this another way forward for a cup run for Newcastle United this season? Of course, we don't want a repeat of last season when we were knocked out by Cambridge in the third round. But we're a very, very, very different club to what we were back then at the start of the year. So join Billy tonight at 6:45 live for the FA Cup third round draw. Tomorrow, of course, we've got the England game, live watch along. I'll be commentating on that, and I'll have two co-commentators tomorrow night with Billy and Alex also joining me for their opinion throughout the game. So that should be a cracking show, and hopefully England will put a much better performance on than they did against the USA on Friday. But we will have to wait and see. So there you go, guys. If you have enjoyed today's video, as I said at the start, please do hit that like button. It really, really does help the channel and gets us identified when people are searching for Newcastle United or football content in any shape or form. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. It is completely free to do so, along with that notification bell, which will let you know when we go live or we upload videos. Take part in our social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok as well. So join our socials if you're on any of those platforms. But thank you very much for watching, guys, and we will see you very soon on the Toon Review. Take care.